start picking on people because it doesn't lead anywhere. We need to solve our problems, not to create more. But Scott's insinuation that borrowing more money somehow doesn't cost anything is, from a business point of view, asinine. Okay, if he borrows $600,000 additional that was available on the Wachovia line of credit, that money has to be repaid. And even if you don't have to pay back more per month, you do have to pay for a much longer time until that's paid. If you borrow from the SBA an additional $400,000 or $500,000 or $600,000, that money has to be paid back. I don't see our solution here borrowing money. Okay, I think that's one of the problems that we have. We borrowed a lot of money and then did not use it in accordance with what the plans to use it were. And we used it for fixing balconies that were never in the plan. We used it for fixing shutters that didn't need to be fixed. And so we wasted money that we got. And the answer to... See, I sat back there very patiently and listening to all that you had to say, but you know, you're not interested in that. You're ready for the microphone. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, because everything I said to you and now that I'm saying is in writing, okay? And it's clear and it's easy to understand. So I'm not ashamed of anything that I've done here. I'm not ashamed of being an investor. I don't think an investor is a nasty word. In this economy, I think investors are potentially your salvation. Because when I had somebody look at the 115 delinquencies that we have last month, 15 were investors, 100 were owner residents. So, and they're big numbers, and the big numbers are mostly with owner residents. So, you guys who are owner residents and somehow are afraid of investors, I've been a tenant. And I've been an owner. Whether I'm a tenant or an owner, it's me. I'm the same person. And I don't have anything against someone at certain stages in life. My father, who owned most of his life, but as he got into his 80s and 90s, it made more sense for him to rent. So I don't understand that mentality. I'm trying to talk to Mrs. Mesereau about that because she has that mentality that somehow renters are going to ruin the village. I think people that cause disturbances, people that don't know how to work with other people, people that are constantly calling other people names, they're the people who are destroying the village. Okay, money, there's plenty of money around. Okay? Some people have it, some people don't have it. It's a question of channeling the money to do the best good. And my idea that Scott is knocking at the beginning of the meeting, I still believe in it. I believe that the foreclosures, we have 35 foreclosures that are not producing any income, not producing any maintenance income. We've already lost the income from the assessment by virtue that it's in foreclosure. That's never going to be recovered. If somebody stepped up to the plate, either an individual or a group, and bought all of those foreclosures, then the association would be getting the income from those foreclosures. And if you multiply an average of $300 a unit times 30 units, that's a lot of money every month that you'd be getting that you're not getting now. And I think anybody that has any kind of business sense would be very thankful for that eventuality if that were to happen. Mr. Samuel's suggestion is for investors to lend the money to the village. Now, banks won't lend the money to the village. Why would an investor, based on the track record of this village, okay, in particular, and just the overall economy, why would an investor do that? If he invests in units, at least he has something hard to go against. They may go up in value, and in any situation, they're at least earning income through rentals. So investors are never going to give money freely to the village, okay? And not just to this village, really to any village, in my opinion, okay? So a good way of getting these units back on the roll, the maintenance roll, would be to have an angel or a group of people buy them. Bill? Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I have no objection to the investors. The objection I have is that when the investor rents an apartment, the renters are not supervised. They have to be supervised. They don't know once these people get in and they rent an apartment. They don't know that the garbage is strewn. They don't know that they play music till 3 o'clock in the morning. They don't know what the renter is. If they were supervising, you invest money in an apartment, not you particularly, anybody. Keep track of that renter so that the rest of us that live here that own.
Well, you know, if these renters go through the office like they're supposed, if they go through the office like they're supposed to, they're told what to do and where to throw the garbage and so forth. But if they don't go, well, the owners are doing that too. They're throwing the garbage all over the place.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Dan. That's true. Listen, we have to enforce rules. It doesn't make any difference. There are owners that are breaking rules, and there are renters. So my point is, don't make a distinction between owners and renters. You should make a distinction between those people who follow rules and people who don't follow rules. That's all. If you were, Belle, I have to say, if you were a renter and not an owner, you would be no different than you are as an owner. You wouldn't. So why would you ascribe a negative to me as a renter or an owner? Well, but so I don't think it's that. It's a question like you say. It's a question like you say. It's enforcement of rules. It's as simple as that. Okay, and I agree with that. I agree.
I have a different question, if you don't mind. My question is, if we get this straightened out this month by
Where's the
everybody,
question coming from?
if everyone, my name is Joan Satinsky. If we all pay what we're supposed to pay, well, I'll call it an assessment. It's not a maintenance, it's an assessment. What happens the following month? It's not going to clear up in 1 month. So we will go on and on and on.
We need, Joan.
And then we have another assessment coming up in January.
Joan.
There are a lot of people who cannot afford it.
Joan, we know that, okay? We need to get the units that are not producing what they're supposed to produce. We need to get them to be producing. And a good start would be getting the foreclosures off the book. And then I think we have to, as I think Scott said, we need to get to the table with people who owe and are delinquent in a lot of fees and see how we can help them. One way that we can help them, be right there, Frank. One way we can help them, and I've done it myself with a property in Philadelphia, is through a short sale. And you talk to an owner who's a legitimate owner, wants to be here, wants to pay, but isn't paying, and maybe they have right not to pay. They unfortunately, through luck, bad luck that is, bought a unit that's underwater. And maybe they bought it at 160. I know one couple, and they put a nice down payment. They have a $120,000 mortgage, and those units are selling for $75 from owners, directly from owners, and in foreclosure are selling for less than that. So every month that they have to put money to pay their mortgage down, it doesn't make any sense. So they stop paying the mortgage, they stop paying the maintenance, they stop paying the assessment. Who knows if you were in that position or if I were in that position, if we wouldn't do the same thing. You know, because to a certain extent, if you're not afraid of a credit situation, it does make sense. It doesn't pay to put good money after bad. Well, we can sit down with those people and we can try to arrange a short sale with the banks. The banks are crazy in that sense. The banks are getting good money from the government, billions and billions of dollars, and instead of turning around and trying to help homeowners, they're buying other banks. Okay, that's what's been happening with the money they've been given by the government. And they would rather sit around and not try to work out an honest deal with a homeowner. They'd rather wait until they can take the property from them and then wind up having it in foreclosure. So here, they could have sold the property for $75,000 or $85,000, but because they didn't sit down and talk with the owners, now they own it and they're selling it to investors for $45,000 after getting all this money from the government. So to me, it doesn't make any sense. And what I did with the property, not here, but in Philadelphia, I got together with the owner who had a $150,000 mortgage on the property, and we went to the mortgage holder, and I offered them $80,000 cash for it, and they took it. And then the other thing that I did that's a little unusual, that I think we can do here as a community of owners, I let the young man, he was a Vietnamese young man, who was a boat person. He lost his family because of the Vietnam War and was picked up by the Coast Guard and brought here. Just let me finish. I sat there for 3/4.
3 minutes, you're stuck.
No, I'm not supposed to be talking for 3 hours. I'm supposed to be answering his questions.
You've been answering it for a half hour. We got a lot.
Is anyone not interested in what I have to say? I don't have to say anything. I'm trying to be helpful.
You're trying to be helpful to put money in your pocket. It's illegal. Scott said that when you open your mouth at the meeting. You can't have a conglomeration buy property. It's illegal. End of scenario.
Okay. Let me just finish this story. I'm going to cut it short. Okay, so anyway, I made this young man a 49% owner in the property. And it's a commercial residential property, a store with an apartment upstairs. He gets half of the rent, and he has to pay me back for his half of the property, which now instead of $75,000, half of $150, is now only $40,000, half of $80. We could do that here too. We could do that here. We could go to someone that's underwater. We could negotiate with the bank. We can get the price down, a fair price for the bank, $75,000, and we can let that person be a 49% owner in the property. So there are things, like Scott says, having a foreclosure committee and trying to work one-on-one with people who are in trouble through no fault of their own. I'm not talking about investors who don't want to pay, that's something else. But I'm talking about people who own, who would like to stay, but unfortunately the wife lost a job, someone is sick, they're not getting the same income that they had, so they need some help. We can provide that help if we wouldn't. Scott is ready to give you some more of his. Scott, I haven't talked half as much as you. Thank you for listening, folks.
I just want to say something about the concept that investors will not rein in on or control their renters, and I think that's unfair because this can happen with any unit owners. And a perfect example is yesterday I did an orientation. We all know what that is, and we lay out the rules and regulations for these people, for this renter in particular. And last night, she moved in with a dog. And the unit owner lives in the Cabana 4, and she's on the delinquency list. So we're just totally losing control of everything that goes on here.
To add to that,
I'd like to get back to the
Scott,
amendment
hang
so
on.
we can finish with the amendment.
to add to that, 1 second, Scott. To add to that, I have nothing necessarily against investors coming in here, but I have the problem of controlling the investors that are here that rent 5 and 6 and 7 times, that run a hotel, running through here, and there's no control, and until we control that, we cannot have other investors in here.
Okay, let's go on to the amendments because we won't get through with this. Okay. We're up to amendment number 4, proposal 4. This amendment reinforces our current condo rule to obtain and collect 3 months escrowed maintenance fees when a unit is purchased. This is currently in our condo rules, but this version is better. The original ones were interest-bearing, and it made it complicated, so now this amendment is going to change it to non-interest-bearing and make it a little bit easier to collect money if a unit owner is delinquent. Stuart and I voted yes on that amendment. Now, oh yeah, I forgot. Proposal number 3. This proposal, this permits the association to disapprove an application for purchasing an apartment for, quote, good cause. Good cause is not currently in our, the words good cause are not in our condo docs, and the attorneys feel we should have a list of what constitutes good cause. It shows it on the amendments, and the lawyer put that in, and there's nothing wrong with it. It makes us a little stronger when we have to disapprove somebody and someone challenges us for disapproval in court. Gives us more reasons to a wider area of protection. We voted yes on that. Proposal number 5. This amendment gives the association certain powers to collect rents from tenants when owners are delinquent. We have this rule now in our rental application. It's been in our rental applications for 10 years now, but this reinforces it. Having it in the documents is much stronger than having it in an application. In fact, the entire application should be in our documents and the reasons and all the requirements. But we voted yes for number 5. Number 6, proposal number 6. This amendment gives the association more power and wider authority to collect legal fees and costs in matters where there is a failure of compliance with the association's governing documents. I believe our original documents say, well, if you go to court, we're entitled to money. But if you don't go to court, we're not really entitled to that much legal fees, and we don't have protection. So this particular amendment helps us in anything we do with the lawyers. In case a unit owners violate our governing documents, we have more protection. And that we voted yes. Proposal number 7 may be one of the most important ones. This amendment replaces our current rules. The current rules are that board members can be elected for 3 years. The legislature in the end of 2008 said you can't do that anymore. You can only have 2-year terms or 1-year terms, but you cannot have 3-year terms. So there's a way to go to 2-year terms in a staggered process. So the new state law mandates that no board member should be elected for more than 2 years at each election. The majority board members had this amendment put in deliberately because they want 2-year terms. Had they not put this on the agenda of the amendments, we would have automatically had 1-year terms. Now, if you vote yes to 2-year terms, you got a problem. You are risking that you will elect good leadership. However, if you get bad leadership, like we've had in the past years, you'll be sorry you gave them 2-year terms. If you gave them it is important that you vote no for this amendment. When you vote no, the association will have 1-year terms. With 1-year terms, you're going to always re-elect a good member because he'll have to run every year. And if you see he didn't do good work, you don't have him back. But if you vote for a 2-year term and you get people in there that are doing the wrong things in our community, and you're stuck with them at the end of the first year. So I'd like to have that option personally, so Stuart and I vote no on that amendment. We don't want 2-year terms. You guys vote any way you want. That's the end of the amendments. Are there any more questions on the amendments? This was our version. Read it over. We think it's pretty clear. It's almost impossible to read these documents. It's almost impossible. You need a legal degree. I don't have a legal degree, so I can't hardly understand. And I know the document.
Rhoda, you have a question? Rhoda.
Yeah. It's a next question on a good cause to refuse a person for person review. Hasn't it always been a rule that, my husband was on the board many years ago, they had to refuse a purchaser if he had a criminal record or if he was financially irresponsible? In his past, I looked it up. Is that still true?
What was that?
On proposal number,
One at a time.
on proposal number 3, about good cause, that a person who wants to purchase can be refused because of good cause. Yes, good cause.
Use the microphone. Yeah.
I can give you a very simple answer to that. Hello? I can give you a very simple answer. We've always had our own rules of why people will be disapproved. Could be criminal records, financial records. We've always had our rules, but it's never been in our governing documents. This puts this into the governing documents.
I don't know, while I was on, but my husband was on the board, good cause is always a purchaser.
That's good cause. Good cause.
Yeah, that's good cause. Good cause.
You like good cause, Marvin? It's easy to follow.
Yeah, but the key is to put it in the document.
Any other questions on the amendments? Let's go to the next subject then, which is the proposed assessment. Okay, I told you before that we're losing about $35,000 a month, and our delinquencies at the end of, total delinquencies are $700,000 at the end of July, and I keep track of what our financial assets are and what our accounts payable are. In other words, this is what we have, and this is what we owe. And if you subtract one from the other, you know how much money you got. So I've been doing that for a while. And I see that every month we're losing $35,000 despite all the cuts. I estimated several months back that by the end of July we would be heading for trouble, and that by October we're going to be virtually out of money. Property manager said we're fine till the end of the year. So I don't know when this is going to happen. I'd like to poll the board members here and see how they feel about this 1 month assessment, which the accountant got up at a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and he said this is a contingency. In other words, as if to infer we really don't need it now, but in case something happens, we need this money.